going, everybody? Beto with the Chicago Park District Water Polo Club here. During these tough times, we wanted to make this video for you guys so that you could have a couple of dryland exercises to do, practicing your social distancing. We're going to be going through about 6 different drills here today, and hopefully you guys can do them at home, at a local park, anywhere. All you need is a brick wall and a couple balls. You'll notice I have 2 balls here. One's a regular water polo ball. If you guys are lucky enough to have a water polo ball at home, use a water polo ball. If you guys don't, you can use any other ball that you need. If you use a soccer ball, basketball, any volleyball, take your pick. Any ball that you have in the house, obviously bigger than a tennis ball and close to the size of a water polo ball, is something that you can use to do this dry land. The first thing that you should be doing during all this activity is first getting a good warm up. Most of us are just sitting at home on the couch, watching Netflix, hanging out, playing video games. Here's your opportunity to get off the couch, get outside, give your parents a break, or give yourself a little mental exercise, physical exercise, and get a good warm-up in. A couple of warm-ups, you guys should know basic swimming and water polo warm-ups. If you're to do a couple jumping jacks in place, I would say probably do 30 jumping jacks times 3, right? 30 every minute, get that heartbeat up, moving. Then I would suggest doing some arm circles. The arm circles you should know just like every other swim exercise. I would like you to focus on the rotator cuff, obviously. So a couple of the arm circles that I'm going to show you right now are ones that you should definitely already know. But if you don't know them, you should definitely be doing them. First one, simple enough. Wide arm circles, warm the arm up. You should be going for about 15 to 20 reps each arm circle, going forward. I like to put my arm on my shoulder right here so I can feel the actual muscle and rotator cuff moving. Switch, go to the opposite arm, go to your left arm, same thing. I like to start off with the big arm circles to get them rolling, feeling good, warmed up. After you've done both arms about 15 to 20 times each, I would do that times 3. All of these reps we're going to put at the end of the video so that you can see a clean sheet of all the reps that you should be doing. Our main concern is giving you the activities and giving you the workouts so that you know what you're doing. The second one I would do is small arm circles. The little smaller arm circles are pretty simple. You're coming forward and then you're coming backward. Then you switch to your left arm, small arm circles, coming forward. Same thing, going backward, small arm circles. And then the third one that I would recommend is regular rotator cuff movements. What you want to make sure you do is you want to make sure you keep your elbow 90 degrees with your body, keep your arm straight, your forearm straight, and you're just rotating that arm up and down. You should be doing about 15 to 20 reps of these. Then you should be switching your arm to the other side. Same thing, elbow 90 degrees with your body, 15 reps, get them up and moving. When you got old bones like me, you feel this muscle right here snapping back and forth. Hopefully you young cats don't feel that. Good thing we got some background noise too, or else you might be hearing my shoulder snap right now. If you're good enough to do both of them, you can do both of them at the same time. Just don't rush it and get your elbows down here or do something up here. Make sure you're keeping your elbows 90 degrees like a goal post, right? Field goal, right? Touchdown, right here. That's all you need to do. Elbows 90 degrees. Warm them up. Once again, each exercise, each of the 3 warm-up exercises for your arms should be done about 15 to 20 reps and times 3. On to our first exercise. Our first exercise that we're going to be going into is wall ball. Those of you guys that have played CPD should know wall ball, should have seen it one time or another. Those of you that have done high school ball with me and Angelo, you guys have definitely done these drills. So here's the basic breakdown. You always start off wall ball with as close as you can to the wall. Should be about a foot away. So if you guys can see the spacing here, there really is only about a foot between me and the wall. And the first exercise that you want to be doing is just your wrist. Keep your elbow up high just like you're shooting, and all you're doing is working the wrist. See if you can get about 15 to 20 reps for just beginners. If you're experienced, you can definitely do 20 or 30. After you do your 20 or 30, switch off and then go with the left hand. try to keep your elbow and your shoulder as straight as possible, and try to keep that wrist making the only one that's making movement. It should be purely your wrist going back and forth, back and forth. Now a couple modifications. If you don't have a water polo ball, hopefully you guys have another kind of ball in your house. My recommendation, if you don't have a water polo ball, would be a basketball. Basketball is a little bit bigger, it's a little bit more difficult, and it's a little bit heavier than a water polo ball. So I would recommend doing the same thing. Once again, if you're a beginner, I would say about 15 reps above the wrist is good. If you're more advanced, I would say about 20 to 30 reps is good as well. Then you switch. Ideally, what you want to be doing is not arching your back. You want to make sure your elbow is up high. And if you can, you want to be looking relatively forward and straight, because if you lean back, that's when your body tends to lean back. So you want to make sure your posture is good. A couple of mistakes, couple of common mistakes what you don't want to do. First, you don't want to have the elbow down here. You're doing it wrong. That's not the correct drill. You want to get that elbow up high, up here. Just like we always practice in water polo, right? You want to have your elbow ear level, forearm facing forward, and wrist 90 degrees, right? Take a look from here. It's the exact same thing as you're in the pool. That's what you want to make sure you're doing. The second mistake, the second biggest mistake is when you're doing the wrist action, your body turns and you kind of lean back a little bit. You don't want to lean back. Stay straight and get that ball moving. Then once you get your 30 reps in, switch to the left hand and keep going. Notice, my back isn't arched, I'm not leaning, I'm not putting any other stress on any other body part. It's just my wrist and a little bit of my forearm that's working. Got it? Our second exercise, that first one is just the wrist. Our second exercise, we call it around the world. You're still doing the same thing. You still have about the same space away from the wall, about a foot. And what you're going to do is you're going to start at the top and go all the way down to the side where your arm is almost 90 degrees to your body. Then come all the way back up. Switch to your left arm. Come all the way back down, and then come all the way back up. If I remember correctly, you should be getting about 15 to about 20 reps when you do the whole semicircle. So let's count it out. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25. So you should be definitely getting over 15. Then you switch and you do the same thing on the other side. Make sure you get that elbow and that forearm pretty much 90 degrees, and then bring that ball all the way back up. Once again, you're purely working on the wrist and a little bit of the forearm. Notice the rest of my body isn't really working. Just my forearm working, just my wrist working. See how my body's almost 90 degrees here. Then bring that ball all the way back up and switch it up again. If you really want to test yourself after you've done this a couple days and you start to perfect it, see if you can do it by just looking forward. So you're looking straight at the wall, you're focused on your wrist, you're focused on keeping your hand underneath the ball, you're focused on getting about 15 to 20 reps each time around the ball, and then switch. Just try to keep your eyes focused so that you're not watching the ball, you're just facing forward, and then same thing. Get that ball all the way down to the side of your body, and then bring it back up. Now for the modification. For the basketball that bounces a little bit more, you might have to take a little bit more of a step back, but it should be relatively still a foot. So, same thing. Start with the ball up high and see if you get your reps in. Once again, what I really want you to pay attention to is not arching your back and not bending those elbows dramatically. There should be a slight bend in your elbow, but it shouldn't be like a full bend like this. You should just have a slight bend in that elbow. Now, a couple of mistakes. First, it's your back. You will feel it in your lower back right here. if you're doing it incorrectly. And the way you'll feel it is once you come here, your body starts to turn or you start to lean. See how I'm leaning? You might not realize that you're leaning until you feel the pain right here in your lower back. The trick is to keep your body straight, to stay squared with the wall, and to keep that ball moving. The second major mistake. The second major mistake is when you bend the elbow too much. It's okay to have a slight bend. If you see in here, right, I have a slight bend. It should never be straight. Nobody really passes like that anyway, right? However, it shouldn't be here. You want to make sure you get a full extension. So, if you're here, this is not correct. Notice the bend in my elbow. Notice how severe the bend is in my elbow. Right? That's not what you're looking for. What you're looking for is to go from here, up here, and then to keep it wide as possible. The wider you keep it from your body, the more you'll feel it in your rotator cuff, especially in the front of your rotator cuff. And that's what you want to be doing. You want to make sure you're getting those reps in so that you feel it on your rotator cuff and so that you're getting the ball touches. Drill number 3. Drill number 3, you take a step back. So we started off here, right, doing the wrist. And then the second drill was around the world, coming all the way around. Now the third drill, you take a slight step back. And now you're going to be working on your forearm and your wrist. You're going to have that elbow eye level, ear level, and then working on the forearm and the wrist. So you're incorporating a little bit more of your body here. So if you're here, elbow up, right, eye level, ear level, and then working the forearm and wrist. It might take a little while for you to get the rhythm down. It also depends on the kind of ball that you're using. But for this, you should be looking for about 15 reps. And try to keep that elbow as high as you can. Switch to your left arm. Same thing. Try to keep that elbow up. Work the forearm, work the wrist. Forearm and wrist. Now, a couple of mistakes. This one is a little bit harder because you're trying to throw the ball a little bit harder and you arch your back a little bit more. So, what you don't want to do are a couple things. First common mistake. First common mistake is the ball getting passed up here. See how high this ball is going? It's defeating the purpose. You want it here. Hand level. Just like in practice, right? We don't want you making those lob passes. We don't want you lobbing over the defender, right? You always hear Coach Nicole, Coach Angelo, and Coach Brian, right, saying kick up, elevate, and then make a strong pass, right? That's what we're looking for here. Try to pretend that you have that little rope, that you're here, and it's just a straight pass. Do not arch it up here. That's not correct. Second common mistake. Second common mistake is your back. When you're here, right, and then you start leaning back a little bit to come here, or come straight, right? Try to think about your posture as much as you can, right? What you want to be doing is elbow up, forearm working, wrist working, and keeping your back straight. The more you work on your posture, the better off you will be. Always remember, the idea is to be working and isolating the forearm, the wrist, and the shoulder. For the modification, here's your basketball. Same thing. You took a slight step back, right? Our first drill was about a foot away. This one, once again, take a slight step back. Same thing. Here. See, with a ball like this that bounces a little bit better, notice how straight I can get it. And you're pretty much hitting the same spot. You don't want the ball going all over or here, nothing. No. Worry about the wrist coming straight over and the forearm coming straight over. Then you switch. Same thing. Worry about that wrist coming straight over, not to the side, not here, not there. Come straight over. And with a ball that has good bounce like this basketball, you can tell it's much easier to do it. And then once you get better, you can worry about doing quicker reps. Notice if you can tell the difference. This would probably be the reps of a beginner. Right? But then once you get used to it a little bit more, you should be able to move, or you should be able to increase your speed. Right? Bounce it a couple more times. And then once you get really good at it, you should be able to not only increase the speed, but the strength. Right? It's still your forearm and your wrist, but you should be able to hear the difference of how hard you're bouncing it off the wall. For an old timer like me, that's a workout. You guys should be able to do that relatively easily. Our fourth exercise. Our fourth exercise, right? We started off with our wrist. Our second drill was around the world. Our third drill, we took a slight step back. We did forearm and wrist. Now the fourth drill, you take a little bit more of a step back. And this one, you're actually going to change the way you stand. The first three, you were square, right? Your feet were square, right? Here, the third one, your feet were square. For this fourth one, you're going to turn slightly. If you're right-handed, you're going to have your left foot in front of you, your right foot behind you. If you're left-handed, you're going to have your right foot in front of you, right? Your left foot behind you. So what you're working here is the full throwing motion. What you want to do is here, elbow up, forearm facing forward, wrist 90 degrees, and then you just come straight through. What you want to make sure you do though is the ball's never going to perfectly come to you here. If it comes low, don't throw it back when your elbow is down here. It's a bad habit. Keep your elbow up here, and then make sure you keep going. Work on your wrist. Work on keeping your elbow up. And make sure you are finishing with that wrist. Pay attention to my wrist right here. I'm trying to make sure that my wrist flips straight over every time. It's not coming on the side. It's not going this way. You know you need to be doing this drill if that ball keeps on going side to side, because that tells you that your wrist is turning with a finish. That means your passes are coming with a finish, a side spin. You don't want to have that side spin. You want to be coming here, straight over, that ball coming straight back to you, relatively. Then, after you do 15 reps of these, you switch. For those of you that are right-handed, then you switch to your left hand. For those of you that are left-handed, you should be switching to your right hand. If I didn't make it clear before, you should always be using both of your shoulders. If you're a right-handed shooter or passer, do not just work on your right arm. If you're a left-handed passer or shooter, do not just work on your left arm. Work both of your shoulders equally. Is it going to be as easy or as smooth on your left-handed side? No, of course not if you're right-handed, and the opposite if you're left-handed. But that's the point, to practice. So, once again, keep that elbow up. Try to make sure you are finishing with that wrist. And try to make sure that ball comes at a relatively good level. You shouldn't be throwing it too high, and you shouldn't be throwing it all over the place. You should try to hit the same spot at wherever you're throwing. If you really want to make a game out of it, put a marker, put a piece of tape, put an X mark on the wall, and then see how many times you can get that X mark. Notice how I switch sides. My left foot's in front of me, my right foot's behind me, and then once I go back to my left here, I switched again. Now my left foot is in front of me, or sorry, my right foot is in front of me, my left foot is behind me, and you're here. Now, to switch it up, for the basketball, or for whatever ball you're using, it should be the same thing, right? Your left foot in front, your right foot in back if you're throwing with your right hand, and same thing. Just figure out the feel and the rhythm of the ball, keep your elbow up, finish with the wrist. I don't know if you guys can see, but I'm trying to hit the same spot over and over again. That's what you guys should be doing. You should be trying to hit the same spot on the wall over and over again. It's as if you're in the pool. You're trying to hit those upper corners, or if you've practiced with that sniper, you're trying to get it into the empty slot. Same thing. Obviously my accuracy isn't going to be as good with my left hand, but you try. Same thing. Make sure you finish with the wrist. Make sure your elbow is up. And make sure you are not leaning on your back. So, a couple of the common mistakes for this one. Same thing as the other ones. If your elbow is too low, you're doing it wrong. You should not be going here, throwing the ball up high, and then receiving it down here, and then throwing it back again. Another common mistake. You do want to have a slight rotation to your body. You shouldn't be this stiff, right? When you're shooting in the pool, there's a slight rotation to your body, right? Same thing here. Pay attention to your feet, pay attention to your posture, pay attention to the slight rotation of the body. For this purpose, I'm going to show you a little bit of an exaggeration. That's a little too much, right? You just want to have a slight movement to your body. This is what you're looking for. See the difference? There is a slight movement of the upper body. You're not using that full rotation. Same thing with the left hand, right? This is an exaggeration. This is what you're looking for. Once again, last common mistake. Try not to throw the ball all over the place. Try to aim for a specific spot or two on your wall and try to get it as often as you can.